Good afternoon, and welcome to a special edition of Star Opinion Live with the KC Stars editorial board. I'm your host today, Toriano Porter. Today is a special tribute to former Kansas City sports reporter Terez Paylor, who passed away at the age of 37 on Tuesday. Terez was a former high school and professional sports writer for the Star. He went on to national prominence with Yahoo Sports, and we wanted to bring together some of Terez's former colleagues here with the Star. So let me introduce our special guest today. First, Candace Buckner, now with the Washington Post. Candace, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Toriano. Good to see you again, brother.
Thank you. Thank you, always. We also have Greg Moore, now with the Arizona Republic. Thank you, Greg.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. Good to see you. Good to see you, Candace.
Unfortunately, we had to gather under these circumstances. And you guys worked with Terez when you guys were at the Kansas City Star. I'll start with you, Candace. Tell me a little bit about your connection to Terez Paylor.
Okay, so I should have done some research on like his bio, because some of the years are they're like the same to me. So I believe he came in 2006 or 2007. And we were at the Johnson County Bureau. This was back in the day when there were bureaus. And so we were in Johnson County covering Kansas sports. If you know anything about high school preps, especially at the Kansas City Star, we cover a lot of high schools on the Missouri side and the Kansas side. And if I recall, we sat next to each other and eventually also got the Missouri assignments. But what I can recall is just what I touched on a little bit earlier in a tweet, is that Terez was just a workhorse grinder. And I can't remember, like, I don't have a first memory that I can recall, but it's just this guy handling 12 straight days of work, no lie. Supposed to have Sundays off, not having Sundays off at all because he had this notebook to do and that assignment to cover, and he did it with gusto, and he did it without complaining. We all moan and to each other, but his bosses would not have known that they were working him. They were working him hard, but he was doing a good job, and I just really appreciate just the grind and the hustle of someone who really started at the bottom, Johnson County Bureau, and elevate to a freaking national NFL writer who was respected and a rock star beyond what I've accomplished, beyond any of his peers accomplished. It's not crazy to me. He deserved every bit of it.
Absolutely. And one of the common things that's been going around this week, as we remember Terez, is that his work ethic, that grind mentality everyone talks about. Greg Moore, I want to bring you in. You was with Terez here at KC. Tell me a little bit about how you met Terez and then a little bit about that grind that he showed, that grit.
Terez is my dude, man. So we actually go back to our hometown of Detroit.
Detroit?
Yeah, so he had just come home from Howard, and I had, right about the same time, I graduated from Wayne State. And I'm with Candace. The dates really specifically get fuzzy, but the main thrust of the story is that we were in this recruiting visit kind of office where there were a lot of aspiring journalists around, and he and I met in that moment, and we just kind of knew that we were going to see each other again. And then sure enough, he ended up coming to the Kansas City Star, and I was a desk guy back then, and he was in the field, like really covering all these different beats. And I'm, it's just his copy used to come my way, and because I knew him, I'd call him. And so I made sure that he knew everything that he was doing right, which was a lot of stuff, right? And the stuff that I knew that his bosses were noticing, I made sure to keep sure that there was a line of communication open. I could say, yo, here's where you're doing great. Keep doing this. This is fantastic. And at the same time, I was working on this weird column where I was writing about sports and pop culture. And if I ever brought one that didn't work, Terez would be the first one like, hey, man, hey, you didn't bring the heat on that one, man. It's funny because I hear Candace say, so the friendship really evolved. We used to go to the gym a few times a week. I used to drag him out to play basketball with us on Fridays. Candace, remember we even had him on that team that we started. Candace was the player coach. We got the Invaders.
I forgot the Invaders, yeah, because none of us were from Kansas City.
Right, and we got destroyed in this rec league every single week. It was so anyway. And then Terez would come over to watch wrestling on Monday nights or football on Saturday. He loved the Miami Hurricanes. Like, I would just bug him till he finally came out. He'd go out to the bar with us on occasion, but he was just a workhorse who would put the job first every single time. And I can think of so many conversations that we had where we ended up just talking about work. You know, I really regret that he and I didn't stay in touch as well as I would have hoped. You know, just because I moved to Arizona, we didn't talk every day. We didn't talk every week. We maintained the friendship, but I miss my friend. I wish we would have talked more.
Absolutely. And for me personally, I remember it was probably around 2009. I was assistant sports editor at the Independent Examiner newspaper, and my responsibility and duties included covering high school sports. So this is the time when Candace was on the grind, Therese was on the grind, Greg, you was doing your column, Damon Smith was there contributing. And so I used to see Candace and Therese, you know, at these different sports events. And I would always run back and make sure I read you guys' copy because I wasn't right. And that's kind of how I got familiar with Therese's work, right? So at that point, I became a fan. So I watched him grind that high school beat. I watched him get promoted to that Mizzou beat and kill it. I'm a Mizzou fan. I watched him kill that beat. Once he got to Kansas City, the rest is history. He killed that beat, and then he got.
Let's stop there.
Yeah.
On the Missouri beat, and Candace can speak to this. He was the first Black sports reporter to cover Missouri for the Kansas City Star, and history. He replaced a legend. He replaced Mike DeArmond, who'd been there for something like 40 years.
Absolutely.
And in those days, the Missouri sports department, there was a lot going on. Terez had a lot of work to do, and he nailed it. Like I can only imagine the pressure he must have faced as a Black man in that environment, in that state, on that campus, with that kind of world around him, and he's still getting the job done. I can tell you some stories about how he confronted racism, but Candace, do you have any memories of his time at Mizzou?
I was gone from the Star from that time, actually. Yeah, so I don't remember. Mizzou is my alma mater. So I guess I paid some passing attention, but at that point in my life, I actually quit the Star for a project to work on. So I was on a different sort of grind. I didn't know about him being the first African American Mizzou beat reporter.
Right.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, Candace, at the end of the day, he ended up at Yahoo Sports. Like, as journalists, we know how big of a deal that is to be a national writer. And yet he still stayed here in Kansas City, Missouri, man. Wow.
You know how rare it is these days for that trek. I think when we were in college, we all knew, okay, we're going to start off covering preps, maybe get a college beat, and then we'll get a pro beat. That's how it was always portrayed to me, as far as, you know, paying your dues and working up. I don't think that's the case as much now. We got some Pop-Tarts coming in, thinking they should cover the Dallas Cowboys after their junior year in college.
Absolutely.
So for him to grind, and he's such an old soul. It's like 37 years old is young, but Terez was an old dude and didn't mind old work, didn't mind singing Temptation songs openly at karaoke. I loved everything about him. Such an old soul, and I'm so glad that, again, it goes back to you hear these cliches like hard work pays off, and if you just pull yourself up by your bootstraps, that's false. But in Terez's case, he actually made it true.
Absolutely, he made it work, and I'm telling you, I witnessed it from afar. And then once, you know, I got with the Star in 2016, you know, we really had a chance to develop a personal relationship, man. And he was a great dude. So one of the things I like to do is break news, right? So I'm going to break some news right now. Coming from Greg Former, managing editor of the Kansas City Star. The Star is joining together with Yahoo Sports and the Wall Street Journal to set up a scholarship fund in Terez's name at Howard University.
Wow.
How about that?
That's great.
How about that?
That's great.
We're seeking donations totaling $25,000
Wow.
Let me tell you, that scholarship fund is going to help recruit the next great sports journalist in the United States of America. Here's another thing. Terez Paylor was only 37 years old. The testament to this young man's ability and skill and work ethic, he was a Pro Football Hall of Fame voter.
At 37.
At 37. Greg Moore, how amazing is that?
No, it's impossible. I mean, that doesn't happen. But I think the thing that we should remember is his perseverance and his tenacity, because I can remember plenty of times when he was overworked and underpaid, but he kept his mind on a greater focus. That was the main thing he and I used to talk about, was the life that we wanted to live, the careers that we wanted to have. And I can say with full confidence that I've got a lot of peace in my heart, knowing full well that he achieved the career that he wanted to have. I wish he would have had an opportunity to do it longer. He also had the life that he wanted to have. He had a beautiful fiance, Ebony Reed, and I'd like to make sure that I point out that once he got with her, his career took off. They were amazing for each other. Nobody accomplishes anything in the world alone, and I think she deserves a lot of credit for some of the things that he was able to accomplish. He was on the way up when they met, then he took off. But, you know, I think too, and forgive me for talking too much, but I just always think about racism and how that used to affect our lives in Kansas City and our, you know, and I haven't really seen that that part of his life examined. And I also haven't heard as much about, you know, how much he encouraged people and kept them from, you know, leaving the profession. Tori, I know you got a story about encouragement.
Absolutely.
Candace, did he ever talk you back in? Did he talk you back after Indiana?
I want to hear the Toriano story.
It's a good one. Yeah, go ahead, dude.
I want to make a correction on this breaking news I had. 25 grand is the startup seed money. The goal is to raise 100 grand. I just wanted to make sure I was.
Wow.
Absolutely. So shouts out to the Star, Yahoo, and the Wall Street Journal. Big time, big time. So, okay. I'll start this story real. I'll make it short. Back in 1992, I was a freshman at the University of Central Missouri State in Warrensburg. A college football player, but I read the newspaper every single day. We did not get the St. Louis Post-Dispatch up there until like 2 or 3 days later. So I started reading the Kansas City Star newspaper every single day. So the way I read the newspapers, I opened up the sports page first. That was always the first thing I opened up. So in the 90s, you guys already know the sports page was filled with rock stars. So my goal as a journalism major was to write for the Kansas City Star one day. That was a goal I set for myself at 18 years old. Well, going through this career, it'll be 20 years in February, actually. But going through this career, you go through this grind period, right? So part of my grind period was community newspapers, Independent Examiner, Lee Summit Journal. Well, Lee Summit Journal was owned by the McClatchy Company. The company owns the Star. I was hired as a community reporter in 2012. Me thinking, being a hot shot, right? I'm like, all right, 2 years in the minor leagues and I'm going to the show, right? I'm going downtown to the Star. Can't nobody tell me I'm not. Well, it didn't happen like that. I was for 4 years. I almost quit, was almost fired. It was just a really frustrating time because I knew I could do the work. But God's timing is God's timing, right? So in 2015, 2016, the high school sports reporter beat came open in Kansas City, the Star. Now, you guys been there, you know. You get in that beat and you kill it, as you guys sit in your seats now. You know what can happen. We saw what happened with Therese. So looking at him and his trajectory, I was like, man, if I get on that beat, I can kill it. Maybe one day I can be national, right? Seriously. I didn't get the job. No shade against anybody, but they told me I was overqualified for the high school sports position.
Wow.
Devastated. I was going to leave not only the company, but the industry. This was in 2015-16, not that long ago. I was devastated. The Star had sold our building in Lee Summit. They sold the building and they moved the Lee Summit Journal people downtown. So I'm living in Independence, working in Lee Summit. Well, living in Independence, working downtown, but covering Lee Summit. It was a heck of a time. So after I didn't get that opportunity to be a high school sports reporter, I was frustrated. You know, the company, we hadn't had pay raises, no promotion. I was going to lead the industry. So I called Therese. Also, I'm 46, he's 37. So this happened 5 years ago. You can imagine he was like 31, 32.
Right.
I said, Therese. Now I didn't even say Therese, I said, TP, man, I'm done, man. I'm leaving, man. I'm leaving McClatchy. I'm leaving the company. He was like, man. I was like, they told me I was overqualified for the sports position. And I was like, I'm done. He was like, no, you're in the building. You need to write something to get their attention. I was like, man, what you talking about? I've been at the job for 4 years. I've been cranking out winning awards. You have to write something to get their attention. The rest is history. Not only am I still in the game, I'm in this position on the editorial board, one of the youngest Black editorial board members in the country until G. Moore got on with the Arizona Republic editorial board. And so without Terez Paylor's, what you call motivation and insight, I would have walked away from a grand opportunity. So that's my story about how Terez helped me in this game. I was 10, 11 years his senior.
Wow.
I've got one where a colleague of ours, another African-American journalist, was getting ready to leave and was so frustrated with the way that things were going. He and Terez would just sort of sit in the car and just talk. They'd talk for an hour, 2 hours, whatever it took, and they would just talk until everybody was cool, and then Terez would go. It's amazing how much he encouraged people. I read an account from a colleague of ours who's gone on to work at the Boston Globe. She talked about how Terez would always check on her. She was getting a lot of threats, just a lot of hate for the things that she was writing. And Terez would always check in. Hey, I'm just trying to make sure that you're okay. And she said it meant the world to her. And that's just who my friend was, man. He was just a good person.
And before we get towards the end, I wanted to take this time. Producer Beth, she's gonna roll a video. It's gonna be a video. I want to take this time to kind of pay homage to our good friend Terez Paylor, and we're gonna roll a video of some of his funnier moments here at the Star.
All right, it's Wednesday, September 21st. It's only I always do that.
Sorry.
Knights of Columbus. First thing to notice, Andy Reid did not talk today. I don't know why I went to Andy Reid. That was pretty interesting. That was awesome. Get to the chopper. Get down now. Every time I think of all the times I did you wrong, pop, 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 pop goes my mind. I know that you're afraid to love. You've been hurt before. Love broke your heart, so you close the door. Take it too hard.
I'm impressed you know the lyrics.
I love Michael McDonald, man. That dude is awesome, man.
You love Michael McDonald.
Terez Paylor sounds like an alias for someone named Perez Taylor who wanted to remain anonymous online but failed miserably. All right, everybody. Son of a gun. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna win today.
I am ready to go when you are.
Hey, everybody, it's Terez Paylor. Oh, you brought a lunch? What you got this time?
A salad. In-house salad.
We're the healthiest eating guys here.
Absolutely. You want to meet me up at Chipotle afterwards?
Yeah, let's go. That's hilarious. Oh, is this running? The autumn wind is a pirate, blustering in from sea. With a rollicking song, he sweeps along, swaggering boisterously. Yeah, that's pretty good, too. Okay, guys, Chiefs Daily, we got a little bit of Justin New. Oh, my God, what's going on with me? I'm out of the mix, man.
We are.
Because the night belongs to lovers. Because the night belongs to lovers. All right. You know the play call sucks when Terez disagrees. Really? Okay, listen. I've given Andy Reid like 7 straight Fs in the coaching department on my post-game report cards. Like, come on. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw with our fingernails for that inch. Just go right down the line with it.
Wow.
I'm glad you guys kept rolling.
Wow.
I'm glad you guys kept rolling all those years.
Wow.
For all those takes. That's gold.
You talking about a moment that put a smile on my face but ripped my heart apart and insane. I wasn't ready. laugh. I wasn't ready. Thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, Terez Paylor, one of a kind. I just want to thank Buckner of the Washington Post, Greg Moore of the Arizona Republic. Man, thank you guys for joining us on such a somber occasion. But like me and Greg talked about before, we're going to continue to do the work because that's what Therese would do. We're going to honor his memory by doing the work. I'm going to try to change things in this country. I'm Toriano Porter, Kansas City Star editorial board. You guys have a great afternoon.